So for this video, I wanted to talk about the third-person cover shooter action series, Army of Two, from the PS3 and the Xbox 360 generation. And if you're unfamiliar with what this series is or was, it's a unique co-op focused third-person action game. I would say it's kind of similar to games like Gears of War and Spec Ops: The Line. And it focused on this term called Aggro, which is like a coordinated assault between you and your teammate. There are always, depending on the mission, two players, either one, you yourself and an AI teammate, or preferably another real person as your teammate, and you would focus on who's getting the attention of gunfire from your enemies. One could get all of the aggro, which would allow the other player or AI person to sneak around and do some unique attacks. So the idea was not necessarily revolutionary, but it was a unique twist on the shooting formula. And the original Army of Two came out in March of 2008. It was developed by EA Montreal, and it got modest reviews in the 7 to 10 range, and it seemed like it sold relatively well, and a sequel was actually greenlit shortly thereafter, and that sequel came pretty quickly. The second Army of Two game was called Army of Two: The 40th Day, and it was released in January of 2010. It received similar reviews to the first game, and it was also developed by EA Montreal. Now, the series kind of took a interesting turn, and I personally have never played the third game, but the third and final game was called Army of Two: The Devil's Cartel. That was released in March of 2013. It was developed by EA Montreal and Visceral Games. And this was the final entry in the series to date. And this one got pretty poor reviews. It was in the 4 or 5 out of 10 range. And sales seemed pretty poor. Really, the reviewers at the time said Army of Two: Devil's Cartel had really just bad AI. Both your teammates and your opponents, the enemies, had really bad programming. There wasn't a whole lot going on, really generic, and not a whole lot of revolutions within this series, nothing really elevating this series from the first game. The series has been dormant since, and one of the developers from the third game, Visceral Games, was shut down shortly thereafter by EA. EA was shutting down a lot of their studios at the time. Really, the only way you can play these games on current hardware is the first Army of Two game. It is backwards compatible on Xbox One and the Series X and S. And to my understanding, the game is unavailable on PC, and the console servers have since been taken offline. I think they ran on those old GameSpy servers, and that service was shut down quite a while ago. So I think, unless there's some sort of mod or some sort of PC port I'm unaware of, these games are quite difficult to play unless you're physically, plugging in your 360 and you have your co-op teammate in the same room as you playing split screen. Other than that, it's quite difficult to play these games. Army of Two: The 40th Day and The Devil's Cartel are available digitally on the 360 marketplace. That was sort of a new thing late in that generation. So I have a digital copy of The 40th Day, but since it's not backwards compatible, that game is kind of stranded on the 360. Same goes with the Devil's Cartel. So what's going on with this series? The answer is not a whole lot, really. Nothing's happened since the release of the third game in March of 2013. And you kind of have to look at the gaming landscape at the time. Kind of goes to show you how it was easier and faster to develop games back in the 2010s or the early aughts, because this series got 3 entries within the same console generation in just 5 years. Nowadays, you'll see development teams spend 5 or 6 years or even longer to make a single entry in the series. That's why we've seen long gaps in games such as Halo. The Batman series has had a long absence as of late. Other games, including Gears of War, even Assassin's Creed, had to take a year off of its yearly release because game development is taking longer, games are getting bigger, and they're more expensive to make. So you can't make them as quickly as they used to, but I think 3 entries within 5 years is quite frequent. So maybe EA kind of overstayed its welcome with this series. Honestly, I think that while people aren't specifically wanting this series to return with a new game or something, I think this approach is unique. I mean, EA even published a game called It Takes Two, a unique co-op experience kind of game, and gamers really love that. And I think that's what Army of Two offers, a unique co-op experience. It focuses on two players with a new gameplay mechanic with the Aggro system. And, I think gamers just really like to play games with their friends through an engaging story. I think that's, the fun gameplay, unique mechanics is why Borderlands is so successful. You can argue the story aspect isn't all there for Borderlands, but nonetheless, I think you see successful series because of their spin on co-op, and Army of Two offered that. So what could be done with this series? I think to test the waters and see if gamers are interested in seeing this series return is for EA to remaster or re-release this trilogy of titles. We've seen recent dormant shooters from the 360 PS3 era come back in remastered forms, such as the Crysis trilogy. Those games kind of launched around the same time of Army of Two. I know you can't really compare the quality of games between Crysis and Army of Two, but that series has been dormant for a long time. They remastered that trilogy. It seems to be getting positive reception from gamers, and it seems like a new entry in Crysis is happening now. So maybe the same can happen for Army of Two. I think it would just be good for gamers to play these titles once again after the servers being shut down and it's difficult to play and acquire these games. So I think that's where Army of Two currently stands. Again, I hope it returns, but honestly, I don't think we should get our hopes up on this one. Nonetheless, I think it was good to look back on this series. The unique times and mechanics it offered was different compared to other games during that generation. So what are your thoughts on Army of Two? Do you think it's a bad series of generic shooters, that kind of littered that 360 PS3 generation? Or did you find it unique and different and fun to play with your friends in that interesting co-op mode? Love to hear your thoughts. If this is your first time on Andy's Arcade, these are all videos about the best moments or worst moments in gaming from the past. We like to take a look back and see what made gaming so special from the past. That's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you, James.